Not for that, I'm going for some other reason.
Good thing those records are sealed.
Green arrow.
Good evening. It is Thursday, July 9th at 6 p.m. This is the City of Franklin Plan Commission. Mr. Martinez, would you please take the roll?
Mayor Nelson,
Here.
Mayor Nelson,
Here.
Commissioner Specht,
Here.
Commissioner Shago,
Here.
Commissioner Haley,
Here.
Alderman Solis,
Here.
Alderwoman Eichmann,
Here.
Commissioner Leon.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yep.
Okay, item B, approval of minutes. Approval of the regular meeting minutes of June 18th, 2026. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
A second.
First and second, any further discussion on the meetings from last?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? As have it, motion carries. Okay, we've got a number of public hearings tonight. So I know Marion's got the first one. So there's a process in which when you wish to speak, you will speak only on this specific hearing number. So we'll read it, we'll announce it, and then when you come up, so it's like you'll just be speaking on that particular one. So then the next one comes up 2, then you speak on 2, then 3, then 3, then 4, then 4. So it actually makes sense. It's kind of smooth that way. And then if you're wishing to speak on anything with under E1, that's later under general citizen comment period. So with that, Marion?
Thank you, Mayor. So the items before you this evening are related to a development for Advenir Azora. This is a multifamily development with 4 applications before the commission, 3 for your recommendation to Common Council, and then the site plan is before you tonight for your decision. This property is the first application, and I'm going to go through them all together so that we have a coherent understanding of the applications before you. After that, the applicants have some information to share about the aesthetics and design of the site and their overall purpose here, but I'll be speaking to the city's evaluation of its compliance with the zoning ordinance and the relevant standards. So among the applications, the first is a land combination, which is here this evening for your recommendation. The second, a conditional use. This requires a public hearing at this evening's Plan Commission, and I'll read that into the record after my presentation, and then folks will have a chance to comment on that. The conditional use is broadly related to this being a multifamily development in the BMU mixed-use district. The third item is a planned development overlay. That is an overlay of that base zoning of BMU to allow for some modifications of the zoning that the application as designed would need in order to be completed. And then the final item, the site plan, which is for your decision this evening, it would be conditioned on the future approval of those other items, but it is before you this evening. So just to kind of go through the discussion of what's before you and what the standards are for all of those things. The proposed development is located across the street from Northwestern Mutual Life. So it's 3 lots that the applicants are proposing to combine. They all share the same zoning, and they all share property lines along 31st Street. So the combined total area of this would be 24.2 acres. The proposed lot that would be created by this comports with the requirements of the BMU zoning district in terms of the dimensions of the zoning, the lot area, et cetera. So staff is recommending approval of the land combination. It complies with the zoning. So the conditional use. So this is one of the items subject to a public hearing this evening, and here for your recommendation. So just a little background on the properties. The largest of the lots is a site of a former orchard and a single family home. There's also a single family home on the adjoining lot here, and then the northern lot is vacant. Around the properties, over here we have Northwestern Mutual Life, and then the new Costco development is a little bit farther east of here. And then to the north and south are single-family homes on BMU lots. So they have the same zoning as the current parcels that are here, and they're not requesting a change. The applicants are not requesting to change that base zoning, but there are single-family homes on the northern and southern lots here, and here, and then there's a vacant lot. We are requiring cross-access in the sense that if there were future development there, that the applicants have set aside areas where there could be access to those adjoining sites, but those aren't being constructed at this time. So, okay. There's the large undeveloped parcel to the west. This has a single family zoning. And then on the property, this back area of the lot has a significant area of natural resources. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to prepare a slide for the natural resources, but we can pull some of that information up during the discussion to go over it. The applicant is not proposing to impact any of the floodplain areas here or any of what's called secondary environmental corridor, which is on the lot. So, let's see. Okay, so the land combination conditional use application. So the conditional use, a conditional use is a request to allow for multifamily development on these properties. The applicant is proposing 166 units, which is a gross density of 7 units per acre. That is well within the allowable standard of the BMU zoning district, and they're not requesting any modification related to the density, to the site intensity, which is a measure of how much development is actually occurring on the lot, et cetera. They're all within the zoning for this. So the maximum allowable units on the lot would be approximately 234 units, which is a density of about 9.7 units per acre. So the applicants have provided responses to our general standards. Staff doesn't really have comments on those responses. Broadly speaking, this application complies with the intent of the zoning district. I recognize that there are concerns about the fact that the current uses nearby in some cases are single-family homes, but it does comply with the conditional use standards in general in terms of the density and in terms of the general standards for conditional uses. The applicants are requesting modifications of specific standards for multifamily uses. I'll get into the details of that on the section about the plan development overlay, but those modifications that are being requested are related to the design of the buildings themselves. So the current ordinance requires that they meet specific uses, specific standards for the uses of duplexes and townhomes in terms of the orientation of buildings, the design of garages, and some of the kinds of materials that are used in the development of duplexes and townhomes. The design does not meet those standards as proposed, and so they're requesting modifications of those standards. Some of that has to do with the relationship to 31st Street, because our ordinance is very specific that buildings must face 31st Street, and that wouldn't make sense with their proposed site. So the conditional use staff is also recommending approval as it complies with the ordinance. The site plan, well, we'll do the plan development overlay first. So the plan development overlay, it's related to the site plan, but they're requesting 5 modifications of our development ordinance, items that have been grouped this way, for duplex design, which is the code citation there, the conditional use standards, for townhome design, for the requirement for glazing, the requirement for cladding, which is the exterior materials, vinyl siding versus hardy plank versus masonry, et cetera. And then also for some definitions, because the definitions of facade names in our ordinance are based on orientation towards a public right-of-way. And because this development includes private roads and the design faces those private roads, that definition does not apply in this case. So that is the 5th modification. So these are the standards of the BMU district. So BMU is a mixed-use district. It's a district that's intended to allow for commercial, residential design that has a walkable feel, that has a lot of uses interrelated to each other, and also has a greater density than some other parts of our city. But the feel of that is meant to be a little bit elevated. And so one of the things that the district does not allow is vinyl siding. The applicants would like to put vinyl siding on most of the buildings, with the exception of those buildings facing 31st Street. And so that is one of their significant requests. Other modifications have to do with glazing, how much windows and fenestration there are. And so the proposed standards vary by the building type, and within their site plan, they have a number of different building types: duplexes, townhomes, and single-family homes, some with garages and some without. I will note there are no cladding standards in our zoning ordinance for single-family residential homes. So you could put vinyl siding on a single-family home and that would be fine. Because of the zoning district that this is in, we would require that those duplexes and townhomes have these other standards. And I just want to make it clear that some of the houses within the development, although the development itself is multifamily, will reflect a single-family character. So I think that's appropriate. We do have some requirements in the RV Village Residence District for cladding standards in that district. But broadly speaking, single-family homes don't have any design standards of this type, or even about windows. So this is separate from the building code, just to be clear. So the zoning ordinance has its own set of standards. The building code has requirements that are not being discussed or enforced through this ordinance. So. Duplex design standards. So this is one of the set of modifications within the PDO. One of the requirements is that primary entrances shall be oriented towards the designated front lot line. Again, that would be 31st Street. Their site plan has a network of internal roads. I'm going to skip ahead to show you. Their site plan has a network of internal roads. So these are all private roads that the applicant's company will be maintaining. And as you can see, many of the buildings have facades that face either an internal sidewalk or one of those internal roads. So that isn't feasible in order to have everything kind of visually make sense and to create what is meaningfully a street here for them, even though it's not a public right-of-way. So the modification that we are proposing is towards an interior private road or an internal courtyard space. So in some cases, there are areas where there are courtyards or shared pathways. And so having a front of the building oriented that way certainly makes sense. There's a parking requirement that a minimum of one of the parking spaces required shall be provided in a detached garage. The application meets the requirements in terms of providing the appropriate amount of parking as required under our ordinance. We actually don't have a minimum for this type of development, but they're providing at least one parking space per unit. They're meeting the ADA requirement, et cetera. Some of their parking is proposed to be street parking on those internal private roads, either on the street as basically a parallel parking space, or as a drive-in space, the 90-degree space that is typical of a parking lot. The parking meets the requirements of the UDO if we were designing a parking lot, but this is a little bit different. The location of the parking doesn't comply with this. So attached garages, it does meet the standards for the attached garages when they are provided, and these other standards of related to garages. And then they have this requirement here about exterior cladding materials, and this is addressed in the PDO through the cladding tables that are modifying the BMU zoning. So these are the standards for the duplex with 4 modifications of these conditional use specific standards. Again, there's single units that are 1-unit standalone houses, so this wouldn't be modifying that because there is no standard for those single units. So for the town and row house designs, this is a similar set of alterations to the existing code, so that the townhomes have an orientation towards an interior private road or internal courtyard, and the provision of the quantity of parking, and then cladding. And then finally, a set of modifications for the definitions that are in Article 12 of our UDO. So the current Article 12 has a definition of the front, rear, street, and interior or side yard that orients itself with relationship to an existing public right-of-way or street, a lot line which is along an existing or dedicated street, nearly parallel to or rear, so that in a relationship to the front, side which abuts a street again, and not a front or rear, so in relationship to each other. So the proposed definitions have a definition related to the entrance itself. So facades which include a primary entrance to a dwelling. It's pretty clear what those are when you look at the architectural elevations of these and also the site plan. And then the rear facing a community area or shared amenity, or which includes a private outdoor space. In some cases, these units do have what could be considered a private backyard specific to the unit. And then street side facing a private interior road, and then interior is a facade facing another unit or building. There are some community buildings as part of the site. So this is the overall proposed site plan. I'm going to let the applicant detail the materials and the design and kind of the aesthetic of this a little bit in greater detail. But some of the things to note here. So north is the top of the sheet, and this has the natural resource information on it, although it's not enumerated in the way that a natural resource protection plan would be. But you can see the boundary of what is a 100-year floodplain. There are no impacts proposed to that. Environmental corridor is also here. No impacts are proposed to that. There are some areas of wetland within this area, and then a non-federal wetland in this area over here. The applicants have proposed compensation, which I haven't had a chance to review as of this meeting. That is something that can be evaluated as part of the PDO approval, and I'm in process on. But the proposed compensation appears to meet the requirements of the ordinance. I just haven't completed my review of it. So my recommendation is that that item be included with the PDO approval, but we can certainly have a discussion about that as well. Okay, so north, this is the detention pond that is proposed for this area. And then you have a number of different unit types. The applicants have kind of details about this, but when you look at the draft PDO, there are standards for based on the different unit types. So this is the clubhouse here. It has its own set of glazing and cladding. And these units all face 31st Street and provide masonry, which is a little bit different from the units within the development itself. So they made an effort to meet some of the standard with relationship to 31st Street and what's the public front of the building of the development. But within the development, it's more of that single family aesthetic. So townhome units, single units with attached garages that share a wall. This is a cross-access location. There's another cross-access down here. The internal road grid and internal sidewalks. These are examples of units that don't have garages, so they don't have driveways, or some units do have driveways. So the site complies with most of the requirements of the UDO, except for those areas where they're requesting modifications. So I touched briefly on the landscaping and parking and circulation that complies with requirements for parking. I know the public will have questions about traffic. The applicants conducted a traffic impact analysis as part of their site planning for this work. It is the 4th or 5th TIA that has occurred in this area of the city in the last 6 months or last 18 months, really. But because there is a significant interest in development in this area, it's something that has been evaluated repeatedly. The traffic impact analysis did not recommend additional public facilities. The main recommendation that it did make was that the applicants put stop signs within their development on the access roads to 31st Street. So it's not recommending additional signaling on 31st Street or other changes. Engineering has some of their own recommendations about that. This location is not a good location for a crosswalk because of the changes in grades. So on a previous multifamily development in this area, I'd recommended a pedestrian refuge, which is a feature that helps to slow traffic and provide safety for people using the area on foot. This location isn't appropriate for that, but it's something to consider because I know speed is a concern on that street and it would help address that. Parking and circulation. We touched briefly on the natural resources. Planning is recommending approval of the site plan application with a number of conditions. I'd like to walk through the development ordinance briefly with you. I know that that's a little tedious, but I think it'll help us understand this a little bit better. I probably am going to struggle to find them now. Here we go. So again, there's 4 items before you this evening. A land combination. I'm not recommending any conditions on this land combination beyond the standard conditions that we usually place in this type of resolution. It complies with the ordinance and doesn't need any modifications in that way. The conditional use for the housing development includes an approval of the overall density and the general makeup of the development in terms of the building types. I do have some additional conditions that I'm recommending this evening: that the applicant obtain approval of the related application for a plan development overlay for the modifications of the duplex standards and likewise for the townhome standards. This conditional use, again, they broadly meet the requirements for the conditional use with the exception of those development standards that they're requesting the PDO modification for. So the PDO is a little bit more in depth, and I'll spend a little bit more time here because it has all of those elements that we discussed. So there are requirements for approving a PDO within our ordinance, and the applicant has provided answers to those questions as well. So just as with the conditional use, where we say we have some expectations about how this relates to the neighborhood, whether or not it meets our ordinances and the future land use and all of the proposed plans for this part of the city, et cetera. The applicant has provided responses to those and also provided amenities that meet the ordinance in that sense. So for example, the ordinance requires that it meet those standards and offer something in addition. This development uses universal design standards. So many of these units have at-grade or single floor entry. There's a number of elements that are related to sustainable design, et cetera. So those are the general requirements. Their responses are in the packet, and we can address those if you have questions about them. In terms of the modifications being proposed, the ordinance is structured with the table of modifications and the request, the modifications of conditional use standards. So what's in the text of the ordinance is the proposed language, the cladding materials, and then there's a group of tables. So the tables are for the clubhouse, the maintenance building, the duplex buildings, the stacked duplexes, cottage buildings, the townhomes, and then a special set for those buildings along South 31st Street that include masonry. The recommended conditions of approval for this is that the applicant, in addition to the typical conditions that we have, that the applicant shall provide the required compensation. So this is where I'm addressing that question of natural resources, that I will be able to make an evaluation and recommendation on that is complete by the Common Council meeting. All protected natural resources should be within the required conservation easements. We require conservation easements whenever a site is developed, and the applicant understands that. There is a little bit of discussion about potentially allowing for trails because the easement area, which is most of this western area, will butt up against currently what is a residential zoning area, but it's very close to Pleasant View Park. And there is a proposed trail there in our comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. And then the rest of this is the standard conditions. And then the site plan, which is before you this evening for your decision. Site plan approval, it has the standard conditions and also is conditioned on approval of the conditional use and plan development ordinance. A full landscape plan, including plant lists. So they do have a draft landscape plan. It complies with the quantity of plants. So they're saying we will provide the required number of plants of each type, but didn't give me information about the species, et cetera. A full lighting plan. I will note, so we will not approve a site plan that allows an encroachment over the lot line of bright light. So there are electric vehicle charging stations that are proposed. Those must comply with our ordinance. That's not really that complicated. Conservation easements are required. And then there are standards for the retaining wall. And there might be a question about trash. So there is a trash receptacle area that we require to be screened. The applicants are planning on having a trash collection service that works within and then separate trash pickup, and they can detail that to a greater extent, but we do require that the retaining wall comply with that and the trash compactor should be screened. So with that, I will defer to the applicants and they can talk through the specifics of the development and briefly just to introduce you to the design, what it looks like, and then we can read the public hearing notices.
Hey, Counselor, good evening and welcome. And just for the record, could you state your name and business address?
Thank you, Mayor. Attorney Brian Randall with Amundsen Davis, 111 East Kilbourne Avenue in Milwaukee. Pleased to be here representing the applicant, developer Avenir Azora. We did have some slides, and if that's what Marion put that in front of me for.
Are you going to go through this entire? I mean, I'm just asking because I know we've been down this road a couple times, so
We have, and I was mindful of that, putting this together, that I think all the commissioners have seen this, so we're going to go through quickly, a lot of pictures, but very important because we have these 4 pending applications, and I'm willing to address the standards and the conditions that are in there. So we'll be, I think, not as long as Marion, in all honesty.
I hope not.
So, and right now I'm on number 2, and this one will go quick as well. I'm Brian Randall, lower left box there, land use consultant. But with me this evening, Joanne Rubio, who flew in from Florida, and Graham also is local for us from Avenir Azora. They're very entrenched in the design and the construction for this. We also have Pinnacle Engineering, Aaron Cook is here. So if there are any detailed questions, we have our full team that should be able to answer. Our other teammates with the landscape design and the architectural design have been working very hard and submitting a lot of this material to Marion. Tonight, I have 6 topics, headlines as I call them, and I'm not going to read them right now because I'm going to get to them each step of the way. So without further ado, let's go with the locator map, and Marion gave you something similar to this. Just want to kind of orient everyone. We're on South 31st Street. The new Costco is really right next door to us. Drove by this evening, saw a lot of dirt being moved, saw a lot of activity there. So that certainly is exciting for some new improvements here in the city. The NM campus still right in the center of everything. On the far north, I guess if I move this mouse, this is a couple of the buildings of the Statesman Apartments. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but certainly there are other traditional multifamily apartment buildings here in the city and right in this vicinity in the neighborhood. But this is where we're talking north of Drexel and south of Rawson. A little bit more of a deep dive on multifamily. This is what we call the 27th Street corridor. The star is where our site is. I mentioned the Statesman before, that's bullet number 1. And the Seasons at Franklin Fiduciary built that recently. That's number 7. We're mindful that the east side of 27th Street is Oak Creek, but there are a number of quality developments and really what we set as the market rate. And I'm going to talk about market rate housing in a moment. But you can see how this is, and really because this is a attractive and busy corridor, you have the freeway, you have 27th Street, commercial, restaurants, doctors, veterinarians. This is a good place to be, and that's why some of these types of units and housing have clustered in this area. And so we're really part of a draw that is in an area that is active and very busy. I mentioned the Statesman before. This is a shot from their website. As I mentioned, more traditional apartment buildings, 3-4 stories, corridors, long hallways, common entrances, and parking associated with that, but certainly a nice layout. They have some green space, their own stormwater, all sorts of things that, of course, you required and that we require for things of stormwater management and the like. The Seasons at Franklin, a little bit different, but you can see kind of the presence there. The buildings massing-wise are a little bit bigger. I'm going to talk about ours, which are really present like a single-family subdivision and many smaller buildings. But you also, I noted with the Statesman, the Seasons, how they have some of the design elements that we're evoking as well. And it's really a contemporary look and some nice materials and good looks already here in the city of Franklin. So that leads into my next headline, which is what we're bringing to you, market rate housing. And some people have asked us, well, what is market rate housing and how are our rents going to look? So on this table, we're showing you, back to those bullet points, the other locations that we know already exist, a number of projects that are already existing, their number of units and their size units, and then what their market rate rent is. So we are not going to be a subsidized housing project. We are not going to have any kind of rent credits or tax credits or anything like that. We are going to be market rate. So when you look at market rate for a 1 to 2 bedroom, it's $1,300, $1,700 at the Statesman. Those are our two neighbors. The max rent at those buildings is pushing $3,000, at least on the upper end of that. So we, of course, don't have a building yet to rent. We don't know what our rents will be, but if our buildings existed today, what our market rates would be in that range of $1,650 and a max rent, because we will have some 4-bedroom units, of $3,350. And so the type of market rent is generally important to a community as far as what its housing needs are and what already is in that community. And so we are going to fit right in with already what's in Franklin, as well as these others that are in that vicinity. And importantly, and you can see right here, the middle column, well, is this too much of that kind of housing? The answer is no, and the numbers speak for themselves. The other projects are 90, 86 is the lowest percent at lease up. And so that is a high demand. Typically 5% is automatically like just vacant for tenant turnover and updating the units. So these are really popular housing styles. The last bullet point, kind of saving the best for last, our unit count, and if you go back to that column, 166 is what we're proposing. We are 17% smaller than those average other projects. So we have density, we're below our density max. We're at the 7 units per acre, we have 166. Maybe we could put more, but we're not. We're not looking to do that, and that'll lead into our neighborhood feel that we're creating. The other way I think it's important to understand is, well, what does market rate mean and what kind of renters do we have? And I talked about this last time, and I know a number of elected officials have been able to actually come to our Bristol site, and I don't know if any of you happened to, and it's okay if you didn't, but in Bristol, we have over 200 units under construction, and half of them are now occupied. And so we are able to, with our own tracking, show you what does a market rate development mean in terms of who's living there. 17% of our tenants in Bristol have a household income between $50,000 and $100,000 per year. 40%, almost half, are between $100,000 and $150,000, and then 23% are between, that's supposed to be $150,000 and $200,000. There are people who may look like they spend a lot of money and they still want to rent for whatever their reason may be. but there also are people who just want to have a nice home and have an affordable rent that they can accommodate and do. So that's what, when we say a market rate housing project and who are the new residents going to be, we hope that they are people from Franklin who fit some of these demographics. They are new people from Franklin that come in and bring some of that and will be additive to the city. And again, the other thing to remember is that we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units. So that's kind of why we have already, even in our own project, a variety of income levels, because some people might just need a 1 bedroom and they're just one person, but a family of 4 might have 2 household incomes. Next headline, positive fiscal impact without a TIF. Actually, I should have paused and kept that up there, but we really want to be clear. We're not looking for any city support on this. This is a private investment. Everything that we invest in the property and in the project will turn into tax base for the city that will be fully taxable. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at the boxes across the top. We use the city's data, the publicly available information, and we have 3 parcels, as Marion talked about. Right now, those 3 parcels in the last tax year paid $14,745 in taxes. 2 vacant houses and 1 vacant property are on these parcels. When we do our $50+ million development and we're fully built out, because we now have land plus improvements, we're estimating it's going to be a $717,000 annual tax bill. So that's 49 times more tax dollars. It's not all for the city. Don't get too excited on your end of things. A good chunk goes to the schools, some goes to MATC, MMSD, but the city will be looking at a tax base increase just by virtue of this project, because we are not asking for, and we will not ask for, a tax increment district to be created for this. The other aspects of economic and fiscal impact, I mentioned schools a minute ago, and we have been asked commonly, well, how many kids are going to come? Is this going to inundate our schools? So in the upper left, we're showing you from our experience in the industry, a project like this with 166 units will generate 0.13 students per unit, or about 22 kids of the school age variety. And so that number, with at least in my experience, most school districts are looking for a few more kids, and 22 does not represent a number that will inundate the schools. More importantly, of course, there's going to be a cost to educate those kids, but I mentioned the taxes before. If we look at what the cost per the city's school district records would be to educate 1 kid, and then we have 22 more, the taxes that we're paying without a TIF, we're going to be a $166,000 surplus to the schools. And then finally, there's an economic and an employment impact. We'll have a lot of construction jobs. We'll have some on-site personnel. So those are certainly ones I don't want to overlook, but ones that I don't want to spend a lot of time on because we have other important things to talk about. So briefly on the contemporary and quality neighborhood design, this slide has a lot on it, and frankly, it's a lot almost identical to what you saw back in March when we were here. The one difference being on the site plan, and I think Marion also showed this. What we wanted to make sure we were providing is that the ADA stalls are identified. We have our EV stalls where we propose to put them. We have our bike racks. We still have our future connections to the north and the south. Those will not exist, though we understand other property owners own those and they don't have development plans. So as the code requires, we can show where that can be, but we're not actively going to do that right now. But it really shows, and Marion touched on this a little bit, our street grid pattern, having 6 streets and creating a new neighborhood in this area with, per some of the modifications we need, buildings that don't face a public street because they're on the far west end over by the Root River in our natural area, but 31st Street is way over there. And so we have this unique neighborhood grid, but they're private streets. And so we need the various waivers that Marion identified as part of this. We are all 1 or 2 story buildings. We are not pushing 3 or 4 stories. We are not a large apartment building. We have 353 total parking stalls. I had one question before the meeting, and I knew it was a good number. I just didn't want to give the wrong number, and I knew I had a slide. So when we're talking about parking, I appreciate, as Marion said, we meet code in every which way. Still, people have asked us, like, that's a lot of units, and if it's such a nice place, you might have people coming to visit. Where are they all going to park? And so the key is, of course, as you look, There are parking stalls all throughout. Some are drive-in parking, some are parallel parking. We have apron parking, and we have the garage parking. 116 garage spots throughout the site. So 70% of the units have an enclosed garage. But there are other renters who don't either have a car, or they don't want the garage unit, and so they're not going to go for one of those, and they're okay with parking on the street. But as Marion pointed out, I think this is the one you highlighted, where there are 4 units all facing each other. Well, here where those parking spots are going to be. Everyone's going to be right by their unit, and it's part of that sense of community and people walking around. We'll have Class A resident amenities, and that includes a fitness center and a community center. It has some co-working space. Sometimes we have a fire pit, just some fun things for the residents. The other information there, we can go back if you have other questions, but I, of course, had to put no TIF or public financing requested on that one. So talking about design, one of the things we did on the right is went through some of the property listings. We wanted to show you that what we're really presenting to you, while there are lots of units and there are a variety of types, townhouses, row houses, the overall design aesthetic we're seeing here in the community already. So we have a West Tess Creek location, a Greenway Lane location, and South Sophia Court. You can kind of see some of the, garage in front and banding requirements, peaks on the roofs, single story, 2 stories. Well, here are our designs on the left with our cottages, our stacked cottages. We have the 2 bedrooms. And so we're I'll show you that what we are presenting is contemporary and it's modern, but it's also what we're seeing already in Franklin. Our design is intentional, though. We really want to create placemaking. We want connectivity within our community and also then throughout the community. And so we, in that middle bullet point, talk about a traditional neighborhood design. That's why we have sidewalks. That's why we have the driveways and the houses close to each other. And I'll show you some pictures from Bristol in a moment. But we did appreciate that bottom quote from one of the pages. And Marion's been working very hard on this. We gave a lot of information, but in the staff report on page 5, there is a recognition that what we're talking about with these 1- and 2-story buildings in the layout that we have, that is a potential bridge to the existing single families housing who are our neighbors, as well as some of those bigger developments like Costco, like Northwestern Mutual, like the Statesman. And so it bridges that, and it certainly complies with the intent of the zoning district, which is a dense mixed-use zoning. These pictures, we probably should get some updated ones from a professional, because this is March from somebody's phone camera. But this is Bristol, and that's why it looks a little drab, and we have a lot of greenery out there. But really what I'm trying to show you, and those who have been to the site, I think can really appreciate this, that we have connectivity and community. I mentioned sidewalks before. We have sidewalks in all these projects with short little walkways so people can really engage with the street right there. We have close proximity, but you're not on top of your neighbors either. But it's really intentionally sited so that we're creating a new neighborhood. This is another angle. I think this is almost like turning the camera the other way, but different types of units. These are some of the attached ones. One thing that's interesting that Joanne was good enough to explain, that we really have no shared walls. So when you think of the comparison to an apartment building and long corridors and shared walls and noise from people, we don't have that in any of our units, with the one exception. A shared wall is the interior garage wall for those units that are attached that way. And so that's the only shared wall. Otherwise, everyone has their own separate space, which is why we find that they're very attracted to this type of housing and want to rent at a place like this because it's their own personal and quiet space. This one picture also, though, shows, again, parallel parking close. So if you have visitors or if you have the extra car that you need to parallel park, there's the apron parking and lots of sidewalks and connectivity. I'm almost through, but this 5th bullet point has 6 questions, but really we've been asked a lot of questions throughout this. The number one question that I always get is, well, did you meet with the neighbors? And, who have you met with on this? And I should move forward to show you that. We did talk about this last time, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but we did have a community meeting. We appreciated those who came out. It was actually fresh off. If you think back to mid-March, there was a little snow event there. Joanne's flight was late, but she did make it from Florida. Much better to come from Florida now today with this wonderful summer weather we have, but we did appreciate the questions people had and the comments. And so post open house, two important bullet points. The first one is the really important one, which is there's actually one of the residents adjacent to us who had questions about the height of the building, only 2 stories, and its view to his property. So we ended up moving on our final submission to what Marion's been reviewing, our single-story unit on that property line, and we just put the 2-story one in another location on our site. So the site number of units didn't change, but through that feedback, which we wouldn't have thought of, or at least have that concern ourselves, that neighbor asked us for that, and so that's what's reflected in our plans, that we made that accommodation. I've also seen a couple of emails from Joanne, so we've continued that open dialogue, and that also includes through our district elected official, Alder Hassan, and I know he also has had communications with neighbors and things like that. So we've done what we can to keep that dialogue going, and we will still be doing that going forward. Question number 2, this came up earlier, traffic. So first things first, we did our own traffic analysis because we knew that was going to be a question and we knew that was going to be a requirement. And so right in the middle, I want to emphasize our traffic analysis, and hearing Marion say there maybe been 6 in the last 18 months, we knew that, and we knew we couldn't just come in and say, here's what we're doing for Leo. We had to make sure we were factoring in Costco and the Prairie, and so usually the way these engineers do it, they build on one another, and they use, of course, that body of knowledge. But we aren't just telling you, oh, here's what our 166 units will be. We had our TIA cover our holistic project, where the traffic's going to go north and south on 31st Street, and the documentation is in and reviewed by the city records. These are just the highlights. They always have these tables of where peak trips are and all that. The conclusions are from the engineers that no modifications to the roadway are needed by us. Granted, there are other roadway modifications probably being taken care of by Costco, but no roadway modifications and no turn lanes changes to the roads are required and in the play. However, and Marion mentioned the stop signs that are going to be required because we can't just have our drivers pull out onto 31st Street without checking for pedestrians and other traffic. And this wasn't in our TIA as our idea, but I know from our city engineering review, so there's always this separate track. Marion has all these plans for the planning and zoning review. The city engineers have had their kick at everything twice now, and what they are recommending is acceleration and deceleration lanes, meaning a little space on either side of 31st Street so cars coming out can get up to speed, which should only be 25 or 30 if I recall, and decel lanes as you're approaching to turn right into it. We are going to be able to accommodate that, or we will satisfy that condition, even though that wasn't something that our TIA called for. We wanted to put it on the slide to make sure it was certainly part of something that everyone knew we were going to do. These next 2 slides, we can come back to them. They're really boring, but these are like the TIA charts. The top one is existing peak hour and volumes of the key intersections that were studied. And I'll dwell on this one a little bit more. This one is build traffic peak hour. And so what the build table means is it probably built off of that last one. You have your existing traffic, and the engineer has to document that, but then what about Costco? What about Leo? What about everyone? And they look at each one of these intersections. Usually the cheat sheet version for a traffic study, how to read these, is the level of service, or LOS. You can see that throughout LOS. It's not like going to high school. It's C or better is good. Usually people in high school, they want to get a B+ or better, but nonetheless, C or better in traffic engineering is good, acceptable. You don't have a problem. You don't have to do anything. You can see there are A's and B's all over this chart as a result of the build traffic. So again, we know we're 166 units, but our traffic will come and go at different times of the day because it's a typical subdivision when people come and go, as well as hit the other existing traffic that's out there. Question number 3 was traffic and emergency services accessibility. I won't spend a lot of time on this one, but we've sent this graphic a couple times to the fire department. What it shows is turning maneuvers for the, what is that, a 60-foot, 40-foot pumper truck, and making sure the fire department doesn't have concerns with its equipment. And we have been in back and forth dialogue with them, no issues to our knowledge. This also was updated to show where we're going to have the fire hydrants. In blue are the private fire hydrants, and in aqua were the existing public fire hydrants. So emergency services, accessibility, we believe they're covered. We have at least 24-foot wide drive aisles or roadways, and then in areas where there's parking, that's even more than 24 feet. So like this area is 24, but out here, it also includes the 18-foot parking stall plus 24 feet. Question 4, we've been asked by particularly some of the elected officials, what about safety? Is there a concern for the community with safety? This is one of the things that we have a number of these communities throughout the Midwest and down south as well as Bristol. So we were able to actually look at our own metrics and our own numbers and determine how we could best answer that question. And the answer is from our 2292 units over all these years, we've really had one criminal report, which was a stolen vehicle. And so, you know, that's serious and that's unfortunate, but unfortunately crime does happen. So we believe as you look at this right-hand side of kind of, well, why is that? Well, we have a certain level of a standard for what our community is. We have market rate rents. We will do our screening of potential renters. And then people, when they're living in that proximity for community, they're taking care of one another and taking care of their environment. And so that's what we're finding for the safety and no concerns there. Question 5, are there any environmental impacts? We're really happy. In fact, on the bottom, we tweaked this. We did have a small impact earlier on where we might have needed a natural resources special exception. And we really took a long, hard look at that Root River and the corridor. And as Marion said, no floodplain or no secondary corridor impacts. The mitigation that we are required to do, we are planning to do it. Although I know Marion said she hasn't reviewed absolutely everything to confirm. But even if she finds something that we're missing a plant or a species or a one number of a certain thing, we'll certainly be adding that. And I think that would be covered by the conditions of approval. But we're really pleased that we don't have any environmental impacts. Final question we've been asked is, this sounds like new housing. We don't have a lot of this. What's your experience like? How is this going to work? Well, LEO, Advenir Azura, has been doing these LEO developments for a number of years, and as I mentioned, down south and in the Midwest. And so these are where we have stabilized properties in blue. In lease up, there are 5 of them that are lease up, meanings they've been built, and we're building up on getting those residents in there. And then we have construction or pre-leasing. And so in Wisconsin, Mount Pleasant, we talked about that. It's not ready for any leasing yet, but we've made progress on construction since the last time I was here, 3 months. But Bristol, where's Bristol? Here's Bristol. We have those 230 units there, and that is leasing up very nicely, although construction is still going on. This also just gives you another look, a peek behind the curtain of what we do and the market rents and what this community means to all of our host communities. So this gives you the breakdown of the ones that we have people living in, either they're lease up or they're fully complete, the number of units when they came on, rent premium versus multifamily, kind of meaning, okay, if you just look at us as a multifamily project and product, what does our rent look like? Well, we're plus 22%. We're market rate or a little above. And this is just another way of running those kinds of numbers. The other important part is the demand for the product. And when we complete construction, we find that we have very strong lease up. And that's what we're seeing across our portfolio. And we would expect nothing less for Franklin because of where this site is located and all the good things in this community. The final headline is applications and approval standards. This has a lot on it. It's just to show you that we didn't rush in here and say, approve us now. We've been working at this since late last year. We really appreciated having that community open house, doing the 2 concept reviews, 1 concept review with this body, 1 with Common Council. And we've done a number of tours of the Bristol project. And if anyone else from now going forward wants to see that, we'd be happy to do it. But you can also be a secret shopper because we have a leasing agent there. And, you know, you could just say you're interested in renting and they would give you the typical tour that they need. So we've had a long schedule, but it's methodical and we wanted to make sure we took each step at the right time. finally, to really talk about the applications and approvals, with a broad statement, I'll say Marion's worked very hard. She even went through those ordinances and resolutions. They all contain certain conditions. I understand some are standard conditions, some are specific. With each one of our applications, we accept those conditions, we can meet them, or we will meet them, and I'm here to say that we fully embrace those. There are some times where we look at something as a developer and say, oh, we can't do that, and we try to ask for relief. But everything that's in the staff report, the conditions of approval, we will meet or we can meet. And so particularly on the conditional use, the way that law has ultimately came out, that we have to be very clear that we find those reasonable, we think we can work with them, and we really appreciate staff's hard work at putting all of those together. On the conditional use, I recognize we comply with the density and we comply with all the general standards, but we do need those approvals for a couple of the specific examples, standards, and then the PDO for the design issues that Marion talked about. And that brings me to my conclusion, kind of, well, what's in it for the city? Besides tax base, and that we're not asking for a TIF, but the PDO standards and the approval process for that requires us to demonstrate what are these tangible benefits. And so this was all in our materials, but I'll just, with these bubble graphs, kind of highlight a couple of them. With our diversified primary entrance orientation, what we're trying to share with you is we don't have a cookie cutter, the same thing. Maybe it'd be easy if we had one palette of materials and all the buildings look the same. That's not us. I guess we make it hard on ourselves, but we have the different orientations of the buildings. Some on 31st Street, those houses actually have a front door facing 31st Street to a sidewalk with the garage in back. There are other units that have the garage in front. And each one of those is going to appeal to a different type of person. Somebody who wants the attached garage or somebody who just wants a parking stall in a parallel spot. So we have that diversity already built into our project. We have attached garages for the majority of the residents. And we have the future connection points that'll create the community expansion of what the neighborhood we're creating, as well as the next communities, if that develops and when. We blend the building facades, and Marion talked a little bit about the vinyl. The vinyl is not the vinyl that you might think of yesteryear. It's a very high quality product, and it is durable, and we've made sure to make sure our specs and our builders can get the good product for Wisconsin. But it will have the weather resistance, and it really is best represented by some of our Leo buildings in Bristol, and you can see how those buildings are attractive, and that's the standard that we will achieve with the overall components of the building facades. And then finally, the parking. We have ample parking, the size is appropriate, and we really want to just have that variety of stalls and an efficient parking layout. And the last slide, Mayor, is not much of a slide to talk about anyway. So we're happy to answer questions. Really appreciate this. It's an important project for us, and we know it's important for the city.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Council, you were 5 minutes longer than Marion. I know you're an attorney, so I got to be careful because there's an attorney there, there's an attorney there, and then there's one in the back over here. So I'm going to be careful with my comments. But our procedure will be questions after
Perfect.
public comment or public when we open up the hearing. And then at that point, so just stay there because a lot of times when they come up here, they'll may have a question that either staff or you can then write down. And when we close the public hearing, then you can respond back to them.
Thank you.
Okay? So, say that again, Council? Okay.
The first public hearing notice is for the conditional use. The hearing date is today, Thursday, July 9th at 6 p.m. The year is 2026 in the Common Council Chambers at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin 53132. The applicant is Advenir Azora Development LLC for property located at 7631 7705 7721 South 31st Street. The proposal is an application for conditional use approval of design and density of a proposed multifamily development in the BMU South 27th Street Mixed Use District. The applicant is proposing 166 units, a density of 7 units per acre. The site can accommodate approximately 234 units per the standard of BMU. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of Wisconsin Statute 622372 and 15906E of the UDO, a map of the affected property. All application materials and the proposed ordinance are available at the proposed resolution are available at the Department of City Development at Franklin City Hall. The public is invited to attend the public hearing and to provide input.
So the first hearing, when I open it, will be regarding the conditional use. And what is the second one going to be?
For the plan development ordinance.
Okay, so it's 6:59 PM. I'll now open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on this item regarding the conditional use, please come state your name and address for the record. 3 minutes, and I will be the timekeeper. You may want to see if it works.
Just got to lower it too. I'm hoping this is all on the Advenair development. Good evening. My name is Mara Kresvik. I'm the D4 Alder, 8810 South 51st Street, Franklin. I had to grab a pen, sorry, to modify because I heard something that prompted an additional comment. I appreciate the applicant's efforts to incorporate a variety of housing types, including single-family residences and townhome-style units. Personally, I would have loved something like this when I was in college. The concept is wonderful, but there are some quirks. I want to be clear that my concerns are not with multifamily or rental housing as a whole. Franklin benefits from having a variety of housing options available to residents. First of all, this is more to Parks Commission and Department. I respect and appreciate that you are concerned about our city's precious natural resources. However, with persistent trails and usage through heavily wooded areas, I wonder to what extent, if any, does that impact the wildlife that are shyer in nature, specifically our stoats, our tanagers, our warblers, our thrashers, etc. Moving back to what I was going to say, my concerns are specific to design standards and overall quality of this proposal. I have received feedback from constituents already regarding the overall scale of the development, the availability of secured parking, and the proposed housing mix. I am aware that you have approximately 30% of the units without a garage, and I see that the units that do have a garage, it appears to be a single family. Given Wisconsin's climate and the challenges created by snow, ice, and winter weather conditions, adequate and secure parking is important consideration when evaluating long-term quality of life for residents. As Franklin continues to grow, I believe it's important to consider whether new residential development is meeting the broader housing needs of the community. Franklin currently has limited rental options for families seeking larger units, and I would like to better understand how many of the proposed units are 3 and 4 bedroom, and whether this development provides meaningful opportunities for families who wish to live in our community. Franklin has established a reputation for providing high-quality municipal services and maintaining strong community standards. I believe it is appropriate that the new housing opportunities reflect the quality, design, and standards that our community values by providing safe, functional, and well-designed living environments. I recognize that the property is currently zoned for multifamily and that the applicant is proceeding within the zone. However, this proposal requests approval for modifications, which I do not agree with, and I'm trying to expedite this because the mayor looks really tired. As Franklin continues to
I'm
grow,
vibrant. And you're at 3 minutes, so bring it home.
as Franklin continues to grow, we have the opportunity to ensure the new development not only meets minimum requirements, but also contributes positively to the community, enhances quality of life for current and future residents. We are experiencing a boom in development, and that is taxing our municipal services. We have tier 1 services in this community, and I think it's really important that we are cautious on how quickly we develop as to not overtax those services, such as police, fire, health. I appreciate the Plan Commission's thoughtful review of this proposal and consideration of the feedback received from residents. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
4 minutes, sorry.
It's good I fell asleep. I was so tired, right? Sorry. I look vibrant. Maybe I don't. Maybe I just think I do. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bev Arrowwood. I live at 7601 South 31st Street. My family and I have lived in Franklin and on 31st Street for over 30 years. I did attend the neighborhood open house that was mentioned earlier, but mine and my family's opinion still has not changed about this proposed development. As I shared with this committee in March, we remain very concerned about a development of this size moving into our neighborhood. We are concerned about the destruction of the ecosystem, about stormwater runoff, and about the street hazards this will create. If this 24 acres of green space with over 350 mature trees is replaced with concrete and 166 homes, this ecosystem will be destroyed. If you looked closely at that layout, I, for one, could not see where any one of those mature trees could even be saved and kept in that neighborhood, proposed neighborhood. I understand this new traffic study was conducted, but what about the impact on pedestrian traffic? There are only 2 access points to this proposed development of 166 units, and they are both on 31st Street. Assuming each household has 2 vehicles, that's an additional 332 vehicles driving on this street daily. There are no sidewalks on the southern end of 31st Street. When sidewalks run out, runners, walkers, dog walkers, and parents pushing strollers find themselves walking in the street. That is their only option. And in winter, when snow piles up and some ice and snow can't clearly be removed, those persons aren't even walking along the curbside, they're walking down the middle of the street. I'm aware of the letter that was sent to by Mayor Finkum of Carmel, Indiana, to Mayor Nelson endorsing this type of development. But what do we know about Carmel, Indiana? Was that property already a blighted area? Was it an empty farm field like Bristol? The property on 31st Street is neither of these. Just because 166 units currently complies with Franklin's density restrictions does not make that a good idea. Week after week, the Milwaukee Business Journal is reporting the communities nearby are changing their density restrictions, insisting on much bigger lots per dwelling to better complement their community's quality of life. The Winterbury Reserve in Waukesha will have just 79 single homes, not 166, on 22 acres. And these, of course, are not rentals. The Mequon Common Council recently voted to rezone an area to allow residential development, but is requiring a large portion of that area to have no more than 1 home for every 2.5 acres. In Muskego, just 19 single-family homes are being planned on 26 acres. This article mentioned plans for this subdivision have been in the works nearly 2 decades.
3 minutes.
Well, that's a lot of time, and I'm not suggesting you take that much time. But all of this shows that decision makers are taking a good amount of time to think clearly about their vision of their community, what's best for their community, and what they want it to look like in the future. They are being cautious about their decision making. They are looking at quality, not quantity. My family and I and our neighbors are asking that you do the same.
Thank you. Golf clap. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name's Ryan Cushmall, and my wife Megan and I own a home directly adjacent to the proposed Avenir Azora development. I'm on 7761 South 31st Street. Franklin is more than just where we live, it's where we built our life together. I first came to Franklin while playing baseball for the Milwaukee Milkmen at the Rock. During that time, I met my wife. We won a championship. As you can see, I got a ring on for proof.
Now we can clap.
Go. We fell in love with this community. Franklin became this place where we chose to put our roots, down our roots. We purchased our home on South 31st Street, got married, and this past December, we welcomed our first child named Cooper. We didn't buy our home as a short-term investment. We bought it because we believed in Franklin, the neighborhoods here, and the vision of what this community represents. That's why I'm here tonight. First, I'd like to thank you guys in the community and everybody that heard me. I know that I've talked to both sides prior to coming in, standing up and talking. I also want to be clear that I'm not opposed to this development. I understand that 24-acre parcel will eventually be developed, and I understand development brings new tax revenue and opportunities to the city of Franklin. My concern is whether this particular development is the right long-term fit for this location and for our community. As a homeowner whose property directly borders this project, I have several concerns. First, property value. My home is one of the few existing residential properties directly impacted by this proposal. When 166 attached units are built immediately adjacent to my backyard, I believe it changes the character of my property and could negatively affect its future value. While no one can predict the housing market with certainty, this is a significant investment for my family, and I believe that concern deserves consideration. Second, I know we already talked about traffic and congestion. I know we did a study, it's been done, but 31st is a byway. And our other neighbors on the street can vouch for that. South 31st Street is already changing rapidly with significant commercial and residential development, including nearby projects already underway. As we know, we got Costco, and then Oak Creek's got a big development on the other side of 27th Street. Adding another 166 unit development will increase traffic on the corridor that is already becoming much busier. I hope the council carefully considers the long-term cumulative impact rather than viewing this project in isolation. I suggest speed bumps. I see people driving up and down that road going 100 miles an hour. I've been there for the last 4 years. There's burnouts, you name it. It's happening on that road whether you see it or not. Third is the long-term quality and sustainability of this project. These homes are being marketed around about $310,000 price point as a designed without basements. My concern isn't necessarily what they look like on opening day, but my concern is what they become in 10, 20, and 30 years.
3 minutes, sir.
I hope the city asks itself whether this is the type of neighborhood that will continue adding value to Franklin's decades from now. Franklin has built a reputation on a community with high-quality neighborhoods and long-term home ownership. I hope we continue making decisions that protect that reputation. Earlier in the process, I even asked whether the developers would consider purchasing my property because of how directly it would be impacted. Their response was that they were not interested due to timing and existing contracts. I understand their position, but it reinforces how uniquely affected my property is by this proposal. Ultimately, I believe there are stronger opportunities for this land that would better complement the surrounding area while it is still benefiting the city. As you make your decision tonight, I respectfully ask you to consider not only today's economic benefits, but also the long-term character of Franklin and the impact on the homeowners who already live here. I'm going to leave you with this quote. Growth is important, but not every development is the right development. I simply ask Franklin to continue to hold itself to the high standards that have made it such a desirable place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. That's 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Anybody else wishing to speak? If not, I'm going to close the hearing on this. Hearing is closed at 7:12 p.m. So now we'll have some questions up here from the commissioners and we can also have you respond back to the citizens' comments and questions as well. So we'll start up here. Alderman Salus, you wanted to go first? I'll go last.
Yeah, as I mentioned to you, I visited the Bristol site. One concern I had when I was driving through the project in Bristol is the density. What is the density of the Bristol project? I'm just trying to compare it to the density what we have here.
I'm going to see. Joanne, can you help with that one? I'll have Joanne Rubio come
That's
up
okay.
and assist with some of these questions.
It takes a moment. to answer.
Welcome. If you could just please state your name and then your work address would be great.
Okay.
Joanne Rubio with Advenir Azora Development. Let's see if I remember my address. 13830 58th Street North, Clearwater, Florida.
No one's going to check.
33760. The density for Bristol is 8.5 dwelling units per acre. We did not request density on that one. That was already zoned as well. What we did, which is similar to the project here, is we did request some of the same PDO's modifications.
Okay, thank you. That helps. And the second concern I had was the parking, but I dropped that concern because it was mentioned that we had, you said 300?
336, yes.
336.
Total parking spaces.
That's more than adequate. And one other question, what is the average square footage of these units? Like, you know, if you say two-bedroom unit, what is the average square footage?
So our two-bedroom units, they range between 1,064 and 1,152.
Do you have for 3 bedrooms?
The three-bedroom is 1,647, and then the four-bedroom is 1,697.
Okay, that's great. Do you know probably it's written down there, what is the mix of the units? Like how many of 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms?
So the three-bedroom and four-bedroom, there's a total of 50 out of the 166. And because I only looked up the 3 and 4 bedrooms, I don't have the number for the 2 and 1 bedrooms. But when we program these out, we use a common mix of, 15% 1 bedrooms. We focus heavily on the 2% or the 2 bedrooms. And then the remaining is the 3 and 4. What we're noticing here for our Wisconsin projects is that we're actually heavier on the 3 and 4 bedrooms. So it's not necessarily 60% of the 2 bedrooms, but we do have a high percentage.
Thank you. The last concern I have was the construction material. I seen, we have been approached by one of your competitors called Heyday. And I seen their project. They have a project in Oak Creek here. The construction material, they provide some cladding, some kind of a 3-4 feet of some kind of a natural stone at the bottom. It just gives richness to the project. And we here in Franklin, we get used to high standards when it comes to construction material and the appearance of the property. I'm just I am supportive of your project, but I'm just wondering if we can spend, I'm okay with all other exceptions, like the deviation, whether it's the entrance of the unit facing what I fully understand. The design of the project has to flow nicely. But is there a chance that we can just upgrade the construction material to make the place a little bit nicer? Please do it.
To add the masonry?
I'm talking about whether masonry or using LP siding instead of the vinyl, just adding a little bit quality to it if possible.
Yeah, we can look into that. That is something that we can do.
Thank you very much. That will get my support with that. Thank you. I yield.
Okay, like I said, I'll speak last. Commissioner Leon.
Thank you, Mayor.
Uh-oh. No, you're not. There you go.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. To the applicant, questions that Alderwoman Kresovic brought up, and then a connection to a comment I believe Ms. Arrowhead made in relation to the 3 and 4 bedroom apartments. So Alderwoman Kresovic asked about the number of units that are 3 to 4 bedroom. If you could talk about not only that, but then also as a percentage of the total number of units where that falls, just to contextualize it. But then Ms. Arrowhead had made a comment about the number of vehicles. the number was, I believe, roughly double the number of units. Those 3 and 4 bedroom apartments, do they accommodate families where there are non-driving residents in there? So school-age children who are not driving, so that the 3 and 4 bedroom units still would not necessarily have an average of 2 cars per unit. So if you can just kind of put that into context with those larger units, how much they're going to add to the number of vehicles driving. Because candidly, I don't think it's as large a number as Arrowhead was alluding to earlier. But just to kind of put it into perspective, these larger units, here's what it is, the total percentage, here's the total number, and here's what it means in terms of traffic on 31st Street.
So I can answer the first two parts. It's the 3 and 4 bedrooms equal out to 50 total of units. So that's 30% of our total unit mix. In terms of how that relates to the overall traffic, I mean, I don't really have a good answer for you on that, other than, we can take that percentage of the 30 units and then potentially from the chart that was included in the slide, I can give you that number.
Can one of you talk about what the demographic is then of those 3 and 4 bedroom units? Are they targeted towards families with non-driving children?
Yeah, so what we're seeing in Bristol is, yes, that they are families, not necessarily, the 3 or 4 kids, but they do have small age children. I did review the demographics of the Bristol development. I believe that there were 2 leases where I saw that there were 3 occupants that were reviewed, which meant that at least one person, obviously husband, wife, or partners, but then there was one dependent over 18 that would have been also, they would have had a background check done on them as well. So it wasn't, I want to say, less than a handful that we did see on those larger units.
Thank you. Yeah, so the overall point is that target demographic is not necessarily going to lead to larger number of bedrooms per unit, doubling up of the cars, right? The numbers that are somewhere near, I was looking earlier, the number of vehicles would be aligned to less than double number of vehicles.
That's correct. And if I can point out from, our concept review, we provided what our general demographics were of the overall platform. And what we've seen across, the 9 properties that we have, including Bristol, is that our demographics focus around, the starter families, but then also the younger professionals that are coming in that aren't necessarily either choosing to buy a home or don't want the home because they don't want the maintenance for it. So they rely on, this type of rental, but they don't want the traditional apartment where you're sharing, 4 walls or 3 walls and a ceiling. And then we also have our empty nesters where they, are now in a large home that they don't want to maintain. They want somebody else to take care of the maintenance for them. So that's what we're seeing in terms of our tenant demographics across the board.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Thank you, Mayor. So I appreciate your time and everything that you've put together, all the outreach that you've done and so forth. I like the concept overall. I like the 3 and 4 bedrooms without a doubt. I feel that there is a demand for that, definitely within our community. I appreciate and like that there's no TIF. Several of my questions have been answered already, but a few more. There's one concern of mine is that there's only 2 access points, correct? 1 in, 1 out. Is that correct?
Yes, but they're full access, so it's in and out on both of them.
Mm-hmm. And then, as it was mentioned, the traffic, just to address that, as far as speed bumps. Speeding is an overall problem, not just within the city of Franklin, but I think everywhere. And the reason why you don't see a lot of speed bumps in our city, for those that don't know, is they're very hard for our plows to get around a plow. And then they slow down the response time for the Franklin Fire Department and the Franklin Police Department. So I wanted to address that. Another concern that I have is, so there's 30% of the units without a garage. None of the units have basements. Some of these are going to be 3 and 4 bedrooms meant for families. What are people going to do for storage?
So you have the garage. And I understand that, you know, you park your car in the garage, but they are basically the size of 1.5 garage. So it's not the full 2-car garage, but it is big enough to be able to park your vehicle in there, or a truck, and still be able to use as storage. And then on top of that, we do have interior space for storage as well.
Do you know approximately how big that interior space for storage is, roughly?
Can't give you that number now, but I can provide it later.
I would just ask or add that, you know, certain bedrooms have walk-in closets. There are just other standalone closets. So it's what you would expect for having space to store things, but indeed without a basement. And there is ample storage, but not a basement.
And that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Commissioner Specht.
This whole concept is very intriguing to me. I have seen developments in Madison that have turned out very successfully with this type of concept. Some of the concerns I do have is when we move away from traditional design standards, especially with roadways, there gets to be a point where maybe you're not interested in maintaining this facility anymore, or your company collapses or something along that line, where then the city ends up having to take on the maintenance of these roads, which no longer align with traditional maintenance equipment that we would be using due to the reduced sizes. What type of guarantees do we have that the city will never be put in a position to be asked to take on ownership or maintenance of these roads?
Be written into the development agreement?
Yeah, we were just talking about, and I'm seeing the city attorney, potentially there'd be a development agreement that would have those types of obligations written in. And then if the developer or then owner doesn't satisfy those obligations, then the city would have the right to do it and charge back to. So there is unlikely that scenario, because we would want to, whoever the owner is, take care of it before it reaches that point. And Advenir Azora, as we showed you what their investments are, they do intend to own and operate, and they are wholly integrated in doing that, taking care of the construction. That's Graham's role, as well as the operations, maintenance. So it's a long-term investment, and we're going to stand behind that, but the development agreement would be the document that also forces us to stand behind that.
Okay.
Real quick, I wanted to mention, you mentioned the size of our interior infrastructure was less than what was required. We actually have a modification to be bigger than what is required by the city. The city requires 18 feet of drive aisles. We have 24.
If you're looking at traditional city roadways, which is the equipment that the city purchases typically for maintenance, it would be significantly smaller than what we would.
Than the public right of
than
way.
the
Yeah,
public
that I
right-of-way.
understand.
Due to question in regards to your density and safety, when you're starting to look at some more traditional apartment complex, multifamily situations, we have additional requirements in place when it comes maybe to fire suppression. With this increased density, even though there's still single-family homes, will there be any additional measures in place when it comes to fire suppression? Because as we've heard time and time again, our fire department is getting stretched thinner every time we add more development, which is still great for the city. But is there anything that can be offered to help offset that need? Or has it been considered?
Because of the requirements for design, since we design to residential building code, it's not required per that building code. If we were commercial building code, yes, absolutely, it would be required. So we have our ample fire hydrants throughout the site. We do have our the garages and the units that share a wall. They do meet fire rating, so that is a requirement that we do have to do. Even though those are residential building code, they still have to meet the fire separation in between the units as well as in between the floors. So we are taking that into consideration as part of our building, and that'll be reviewed during building permit.
And then my last question is in regards to the environmental impacts. While we haven't had an opportunity yet to necessarily see how the site is going to be elevated with the additional plantings and anything like that, or have you started looking at any water quality accoutrements that could be added to the site, such as permeable pavers or bioswales that could help alleviate some of the community's concerns with the additional runoff from the property and the loss of the trees?
So with regards to the permeable pavers, no, that's not something that we did look at. But I can say that as part of our mitigation, we do have the required rainwater soil mix for around our pond, as well as, and I wrote it down here, the tall grasses that are required for providing that type of filtration for any stormwater runoff that comes through.
And then I guess my last item is just a comment. I also would like to support the elevated finishing materials and keeping away from that vinyl siding. Your selling point and multiple points of your presentation is that elevated look and feel of the community, and moving it more towards a elevated material siding, I would definitely support. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Shaw, Commissioner.
I just had a question about the Bristol complex. How are you collecting the garbage and the recycling out of that complex? Did you partner with a waste firm that is doing that? Because I noticed the turning radiuses are going to be pretty tight in here for garbage trucks. I know Marion touched upon screening of a garbage compactor possibly.
Yep.
I'm not real in favor of that, having residents over this type of property going that far to a centralized compactor. I think it's probably best to give them 95-gallon carts or something that can effectively get picked up. But what are you doing down there, and do you plan to implement that here?
Yeah, so what we have at Bristol and what we have actually at all of our locations is we partner with and they go by various names, but the one that I'm thinking of right now is called Valley Living. And basically, depending on the size of the property and the actual the generation, the trash generation, they'll come to the property anywhere between 5 and 7 nights a week. They'll pick up from the doors specifically. So our residents would be required to have their garbage in a container that's provided by Valley Living. In a container by, let's say, 6 o'clock at night, they come through, they collect it. They are the ones responsible for taking it into the compactor, so that our tenants don't have to do that, because it's a maintenance issue. We don't want them back there. And then from there, so it'll be the Valley Living and then our maintenance supervisor that's on site that would be responsible for the trash compactor. And then on top of that, then we would have our contracts with Waste Management to pick up and dispose of or empty the compactor. We also have our standard maintenance contracts with providers to make sure that the compactors are kept to the standard that they need to so that they operate correctly.
Okay. Just keep in mind, Wisconsin is mandatory recycling. So most situations like this have 2 compactors. one for the recycling material and one for the garbage?
You're the first person to tell me that. So we will make note
Just
of
keep
that.
that in mind and
Yes,
make sure
sir.
that you have the distances in that compactor corral for the truck to be given access.
Yeah, so one of the things that I do know is that the compactors, the way they're designed, we get the same one every single time. They are front loaded. So it allows for, and the way we design these areas, which this one could be pushed up a little bit closer to the drive aisle, but we do design it with that in mind of how the vehicle has to come into it and then back out of that area. So we do take that into consideration.
Okay, great. That's it.
Commissioner Haley?
Most of my questions and concerns have been addressed. I think you've done a great job of coming up. It's a different concept. I think it makes sense. I like some of the things that it does for the city in terms of not having to maintain streets and all that. The one concern I did have was the discussion about sidewalk safety on the street. This facility is showing sidewalks there. I guess what's the city going to do north and south of there? And I don't need an answer to that, but we should be addressing that. So what happens here, because traffic is only going to increase, and as was said, I think the pedestrian traffic will be up too. Other than that, I think it's all well thought through. Nothing I haven't seen in Franklin. I mean, this is very unique, but architecturally, we're building this all over.
So, now, Counselor, stop killing the bugs. We need those.
Doing my part.
I know, you're a helper. So, I guess, number one, my position hasn't changed that I do not support the project. Okay? However, I would like to see this project literally lifted up and moved on 27th Street, put right down. And we could find a very good home for you, we would do that. But I just think it's not the right fit in that area. Now, this is, and again, I've never pulled any punches with you. You knew that from day one when we talked. I mean, I like dealing with you, working with you. It's just, I don't like this project on South 31st Street. I believe on South 27th Street would be the place to go. But we'll see. We'll see where this goes. But anyway, your team and you have been nothing but professional, extremely knowledgeable about, I mean, you literally left nothing unturned. I mean, you pretty much answer everything. Everything is there. A couple curveballs came out, but I think you've addressed them. I mean, I don't doubt that you're looking to put a very quality-driven project in our city, and we appreciate that. I just would like to see it not on South 31st Street. South 27th Street, yes, at that. So with that, are there any other questions? I thought you pretty much covered everything from the citizens' concerns that you had written down in your copious legal pad notes. Are you pretty confident?
I don't have anything to add. I think we covered it all, and primarily Joanne, I'll give her the credit for that.
Yes, thank you. Marion now we have a total, so you've got one motion for this, and then, go ahead, just say it louder, I can't.
A second public hearing.
I know there's a second public hearing, but are we gonna just do this motion first?
Vote on this one, yeah.
I would recommend doing the second public hearing and then doing motions on
That's fine.
the land combination, doing all of them after that. So if you prefer.
No, that's fine. I mean, we've done either way. That's fine. I just want to, because there's a lot of people here who want to move things along, so
I understand.
that's fine.
I will read the PDO public hearing notice
Thank
then.
you.
This is a notice of public hearing for the City of Franklin Plan Commission. Today is Thursday, July 9th, 2026. And the time of the hearing is at 6 p.m. or sometime thereafter in the Common Council Chambers at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132. The applicant is Advenir Azora Development LLC, and the properties are 7631, 7705, and 7721 South 31st Street. The proposal is a planned development overlay of the BMU mixed-use zoning to allow for modifications of architectural and site design requirements for multifamily development to allow for a cottage court-style development. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of Wisconsin Statute 622372 and Division 1510 06F of the Unified Development Ordinance, a map of the affected property, all application materials, and the proposed ordinance are available at the Department of City Development at Franklin City Hall. The public is invited to attend the public hearing and to provide input.
Thank you. It's 7:38 PM. Anybody wishing to speak just on this specific part again? We've already heard the first round. Please do not repeat what you just said. So it's 7:38. Anybody wishing to speak on this particular piece of this motion? Seeing none. I'm sorry? Yeah, it's public hearing. It's open at 7:39 PM. So public hearing to speak. Sure. Absolutely, sir.
Hello, my name is Evan Lampy. I am one of the biggest borders of the proposed development. I'm on the southern edge, covering most of the bordering property.
Can you just get your address, please, sir?
Yeah, 3240 West Drexel Avenue.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry. I guess it was noted multiple times how this development was well below the requirement as far as density. I think that's kind of glazing over the fact that the only reason it is because a quarter of the property is not being used because it's part of the floodplain/river. So it seems like if that wasn't there, that would have just pushed all the way and you would have put in another 60 units and used the full space that was available. That's what it seems like looking at it. And just the other thing I wanted to note was if the trash collection area is where it's proposed to be, it just seems strange to me to put it right next to the big pond that you were putting there. So putting your trash collection right next to the big pond, also extremely close to my property, but not my decision what our neighbors do. So that's just all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wishing to speak? See no one?
Just a point of clarification, please. D4 Aldermayor Kresvik, were the comments that I made in the prior session, would they apply here? Or should I just say Ibit?
I think they were adequate. I think you reached your point. Thank you. All right, 7:40 PM, we'll close public hearing. Any more comments at this point? If not, we're going to go to motions. Go ahead, Mary. Oh, Counselor? Can you turn his mic on, please?
Just as a
You're good.
just as a reminder to the commissioners, pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 62.23 sub 7 sub D E 2A, if an applicant for a conditional use permit meets or agrees to meet all of the requirements and conditions specified in the city ordinance or those imposed by city zoning board, the city shall grant the conditional use permit. Any condition imposed must be related to the purpose of the ordinance and be based on substantial evidence.
Okay, Marion? Regulo?
First motion, it's for the land combination. A motion to recommend approval of a resolution approving a land combination with Advenir Azora Development to combine 7705 South 31st Street, 7631 South 31st Street, and 7721 South 31st Street.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, hold on. We got a first and a second, and this will be a roll call vote. Further discussion, Alderman Salus?
Just like, I want to make sure that the condition we spoke about, in fact, a couple of us, about upgrading the construction material to like incorporating natural stone or something to the facade of the building, is that going to be part of the condition, or? Because we waived just about everything else except probably this one.
Up to the commission to discuss now. This is only for the land combination, but that topic could be discussed for the plan development overlay, correct?
So the second portion of this. Okay. Okay, so we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Specht,
Aye.
Commissioner Shago,
Aye.
Commissioner Haley,
Aye.
Alderman Salus,
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann,
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Second,
Conditional use. Conditional use. A motion to recommend approval of a resolution approving a conditional use to allow for a housing development with gross density of 7 units per acre, 166 units, resident community center and related facilities in the BMU South 27th Street Mixed-Use District upon property located at 7705 South 31st Street, 7631 South 31st Street, and 7721 South 31st Street.
is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a first, is there a second?
I second.
First and a second, roll call, please. Mayor only votes in a tie.
Can we have discussion on the
Sure,
motion?
discussion, Mr. Leon.
So Alderman Salus discussed the materials. I have a question to the applicant. Are you amenable to that condition being added with the understanding, you talked about how the materials that are proposed as part of this application are consistent with standards across the city. You even had some photos in here of properties that show this type of material is used throughout the city. So a little bit of a loaded question, but are you amenable to that condition being added to have the higher quality materials as both Alderman Salus and Commissioner Specht discussed? That question is to the applicant.
Before I answer, I have a question for my attorney. Yes.
Okay. Then I would recommend adding that as a condition to use the higher quality materials to, I believe, Commissioner Haley's motion, if he's amenable to adding that condition.
I'm amenable to that. I would just make the comment that, as discussed, vinyl siding is utilized and approved throughout Franklin for residential properties. I mean, we're setting a higher standard here. Not that that's bad, but every other house in Franklin has got vinyl siding on it, most of them, and it's allowed. So just keep that in mind. But they're willing to upgrade it for us, that's great.
Regularly, before we go to Alderman Salus?
Since this is the conditional use that imposing any condition requires the substantial evidence, I suggest to have that condition to the plan development overlay and not the conditional use.
Sorry, I thought we were on, okay, I guess we
They
were ahead there.
agreed to it.
Yeah, they agreed to it on record. Hold them, lock them.
So we just put that as a condition on the PDO. Okay.
With a note that the applicant agreed to it.
Okay.
Before it was voted on.
Correct. I think just a point of information or clarification is that, and as you may have looked in the draft ordinance that Marion put together, the table is very detailed and there are a lot of different materials going on. So we understand, I think, the direction you're asking us to go in the spirit of it, but we're probably not able right now to confirm like what exactly changes in the table, but we can work with staff on how that can be enhanced to meet what might be a general condition of enhance the design and the materials. And I also, I guess it does relate to the conditional use because there is a relationship to the PUD. So we would be agreeing to that reasonable condition in the conditional use, which is the motion on the floor, but you would also want to do that in the PDO as well.
Ms. X?
I just want to clarify that the conditional use, the conditions as written only apply to the standards for the townhome and duplex units and not to the single family buildings, because those are the buildings that are required to meet those additional standards under our conditional use specific standards. So.
Hey, that's for the commissioners up here. Mr. Leon, back to you.
I defer to Alderman Salus.
Basically, I'm comfortable if the staff review and approve, because, we cannot just like approve something, in the space, like, if, like they could propose something and I'm comfortable if, Marianne could just review it and proceed with that, so it doesn't have to come back to us.
Are you clear as mud on that? Okay.
My recommendation would be to put this conditions discussion and additional requirements in the PDO.
And to that end, I would modify my
Commissioner Haley?
motion to exclude that. We can deal with that in PDO.
Commissioner.
For the next item.
Alderman Salus, you still have the floor?
I yield.
Okay, so we've got a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Leon,
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann,
Aye.
Alderman Salus,
Aye.
Commissioner Haley,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaga,
Aye.
Commissioner Specht.
Aye.
6 ayes on those, motion carries.
Plan Development Overlay. A motion to recommend approval of an ordinance to create Plan Development Overlay number 46 at Veneer Azora, which tract of land is located at 7705 South 31st Street, 7631 South 31st Street, and 7721 South 31st Street.
I would make the motion with the additional condition that the applicant work with staff to use elevated materials on the appropriate units that it would apply to.
Second that.
First and second for the discussion, Commissioner Speck?
Do we want to put some definition on what elevated means? I think our overall intention is no vinyl except for maybe the windows, which would probably be a better solution in most situations. Is that what we're looking for here?
Well, let me ask, Pam, and I'm sure you can talk to the council. What is your thought of what we're asking? So what do you think we're asking for?
You're asking for no vinyl.
What? And you're committing to no vinyl? Because when you said yes before, what do you think you were saying yes to?
I was saying yes to no vinyl. However, I would like to negotiate that, if possible.
Well, see, now we're looking to negotiate. Before it was just a yes.
But if the final decision is full lap siding, I'm okay with that. I can accept that.
I think the commission up here should just be like, thank you, and we're going to move on. Okay? So are you good with it?
As long as we clarify that everyone's on the same
That's
page
why I
as-
wanted to do that. I wanted to make
Right,
sure
so
that
let's
they're.
just amend it a little bit more to be, clarify what elevated means. And I'm good to go.
Commissioner,
So I think the flexibility's in there where it started with work with staff to use elevated materials where appropriate as determined by staff and the applicant. Does that have enough flexibility in there for the applicant?
That's a
and staff?
lot of flexibility. I liked her answer before where she was more direct and just kind of came out swinging and said, hey, yeah, we're good. So you were good with that. I just want to make sure that it doesn't come back as a big surprise. Marion.
I'm hearing that the applicant is comfortable with lap siding instead of vinyl. And I think they have already created some masonry standards in some portions of the development. So the amendment could be lap siding and then meeting the current proposed, but replacing with lap siding. And then in some cases, buildings that are facing more public areas also have additional materials so that not all of the structures have like more masonry, but just to have a little bit of clarity. Does that make sense?
I can agree to that.
I'm sorry?
I said I could agree to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to have this conversation on the
Called
record.
for.
Letting this
We were,
negotiation.
Right.
we were already doing the second part that she stated, so I'm okay agreeing to that.
He's normally a man of a lot of words. He's not saying much right now, you know? Okay, all right.
So
Mr.
in
Leon,
my
you still got the floor.
revision of this ordinance, I would be substituting lap siding for the vinyl provision in each table.
That's accurate. Okay, still got the floor?
Yeah, it was Alderman Sluice's suggestion initially, so if he's satisfied, I am as well.
Okay,
Ditto.
all right, going back with my short memory issues, we had a first and a second, correct? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Specht,
Aye.
Commissioner Shago,
Aye.
Commissioner Haley,
Aye.
Alderman Salus,
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann,
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
6 ayes on those, motion carries. Anything more on this, Ms. X?
One more.
Yeah.
resolution.
We're leaving.
Me too. Sorry, everyone.
Site plan. A motion to approve a resolution approving a site plan for the development of 166-unit housing development, resident community center, and related facilities, and parking, landscaping, and stormwater management upon property located at 7701 South 31st Street, 7631 South 31st Street, and 7721 South 31st Street.
So moved without any additional
second.
conditions.
We've got a first and a second for the discussion, Commissioner Haley.
Only that, we were enlightened to the fact that you're probably gonna need two trash compactors on site, so can we tell staff that that's okay to do that now? They'll have to add one to their site plan.
Condition 12 relates to the proposed trash compactor, so proposed trash compactors
It's an S.
plural should be screened.
You agree to put an S on the end?
Yes.
And graphically, they would be showing that
Yeah,
on
and
the
that's a
site
site plan
plan.
amendment.
Update the plans, yes, accordingly.
For the record, the site plan already shows a recycle area, just no compactor to it,
Yeah,
but
they're,
we're there. We're almost there.
So we got a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Leon,
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann,
Aye.
Alderman Salus,
Aye.
Commissioner Haley,
Aye.
Commissioner Shago,
Aye.
Commissioner Specht.
Aye.
6 ayes on those, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Good. That's okay. Moving on, Mr. Fuchs, you're coming up here, correct? We are transitioning now to C as in Charles number 2, Salon Private High School, Major Planned Development District, public hearing and certified survey map request to amend section 15-3.0434 of the Unified Amendment Ordinance Plan Development District number 29 to modify district boundaries, rezone property located at 10525 West Loomis Road to PDL number 29, and floodplain overlay district, amend allowed uses within a district and combine properties located at 10525 West Loomis Road, tax key number 846-998-001 and 8910 South 102nd Street, tax key number 846-998-7003. Good evening, Mr. Fuchs. Didn't know you were bringing your attorney with you. So, Mr. Rothman, if you could just state your name and business address for the record, please.
Sure. Othman Ada, 4707 South 13th Street, Milwaukee 53221.
Okay, great. Gentlemen, good evening. Mayor, who's taking this? Mr. Fuchs, you've got the floor. Marion, excellent job. There's a lot of cats to herd.
So the applicant, as part of the Salem Private High School project, is proposing a major plan development district which would expand the boundaries of PDD number 29 by rezoning the property to the south at 10525 West Loomis Road to PDD number 29. They do not have any current plans that I'm aware of for development, but they are adding on to the back of the high school building. That's getting pretty close to the property line, so this is giving them a little more room. It'd be anticipated that in the future, they would propose and incorporate this property into the school facilities. The major amendment also modifies the uses allowed within PDD number 29. The staff report shows what's existing, and then the proposed. Essentially, the permitted uses will remain a wellness center, educational services, and then the change also allows permitted and conditional uses as allowed in the institutional district, which then would better accommodate likely future uses with the related to the high school. And the certified survey map simply combines the property that has the existing high school building and then the property to the south on Loomis Road into a single parcel. Staff's recommending approval. The CSM, the Natural Resource Protection Plan that was submitted, some areas are field delineated resources, others are based on best available information. So there is a condition that the applicant would complete the field delineations. Those would be added to the certified survey map prior to recording. And then the applicant would also follow up with a easement application for the conservation easement that would go to the Common Council for approval.
Thank you. So what we'll do, so there's nothing more to present than if we want to go into read for the public hearing notice.
Notice of public hearing, City of Franklin Plan Commission. Hearing dates Thursday, July 9th, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the Common Council Chambers of Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132. Applicant Othman Atta, Islamic Foundation of Greater Milwaukee, Inc. For property located at 10525 West Loomis Road, 8800 South 102nd Street, 8910 South 102nd Street, and properties bearing taxi numbers 846-9987-001 and 846-9987-004. For an ordinance to amend section 15-3.0434 of the Unified Development Ordinance, Plan Development District number 29, to modify district boundaries and allowed uses and to rezone property located at 10525 West Loomis Road to PDD number 29 and floodplain overlay district.
Thank you. It's 8 p.m. Anybody wishing to speak on the public hearing at this point?
Hi, Vicki Lofi. I live at 9929 West Margaret Lane. We are one of the cul-de-sacs that borders the health club and what was Showtime. I just want to understand correctly, and so do our neighbors, that the property to the south of the theater is being purchased and rezoned, and nobody knows what's going on at this point in time. Is that right?
Well, what you do is for the public hearing, you'll state your question.
Okay,
These two gentlemen will scribe it,
okay.
and then we'll answer it at the end. So that's,
Oh, okay.
so whatever your question is,
Okay,
be
and-
sure they understand it. so they
Okay,
can
and
answer.
we'd like to know, is there any idea that the cul-de-sacs which border on Conservancy the road will go through? We want to know that we're going to stay a cul-de-sac.
Okay, when it's closes,
Okay.
then we'll answer.
Okay.
it. No problem, ma'am. You're welcome. Okay, seeing no one else looking to speak, close public hearing at 8:02 p.m. Could you answer that question?
First about the cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
We have, we've never wanted to go through. It's kind of a blocked off for us. Is
this microphone on?
It's not.
No, it is.
Oh, it is?
Just pull it forward to you a little bit. Just bring it forward.
Oh, don't push that. Okay, sorry. Can you hear better?
Yes.
Oh, much better. Thank you.
All right, sorry about that. We have no intention of going through those cul-de-sacs. I think anyways, that's where the wetland area is, and even there may be like a small, like a rivulet or pond or something, I'm not sure. For our purposes, because it's a school, having greater security by having fewer access roads is probably better for us. So there's no plans for the cul-de-sac. In terms of the plans, We have plans to add onto the existing building. When we originally submitted the plans or when we had a discussion with the city, we had discussed that. And now that we own the land behind it, we'll probably modify those plans and submit a new site plan. So there will be, we are hoping to have a gymnasium because the land to the east is a retention pond. We can only, we have a setback requirements and so forth. So we're trying to figure out those plans, but we will be submitting a new site plan. Other than that, there's really no, immediate plans. We may put, because it's a school, maybe a soccer field or soccer fields just in the back for the students to practice on.
So, and not to interrupt you, but just so we're all aware of, and you've got it up here, so when you're saying adjacent to, so you've got the old movie theater.
Correct.
And you bought the land directly to the south.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about, the land right now for the soccer fields, the additional athletic fields would be to that land that you purchased directly to the south of the former movie theater.
Correct.
And then when the madam came up here and talked about the cul-de-sacs,
Where is that cul-de-sac?
you have, what's that?
Where is that cul-de-sac?
Lower right.
They don't.
Yeah, the far lower right.
No, the reference is Progress Way, and sorry, I might forget the other
Margaret.
street names, but up by Innovated, there's a cul-de-sac that comes in, where I have the mouse, and then one more lower around this area here, and the neighbors, they're right away currently, and the neighbors are concerned that those streets would be punched through this development at some point. But that is not proposed or has been discussed at all.
So just so at this point, nothing has been, because this is the first time I'm here, but nothing's been proposed, nothing's been discussed. And sir, you're the spokesperson for this entire project, lucky you. What is, so just to make, neighbors come here, they have got concerns. I mean, we all have concerns. So right now you're saying that there's no plans whatsoever.
We have absolutely never even entertained this plan because it was never part of what we were looking for.
Okay, thank you. We'll open up right now questions from the commission. Mr. Sluse?
I'll start. My few questions for Mr. Atta. Although it might be not related to the issue right in front of us today, but I get some concerns from residents and I like to ask the questions and hopefully, he'll answer them and people will know what's going on. I would like you to, I visited the property, I visited the site, and I would like to ask Mr. Atta to present a description of the site as it stands. And I also, people, not myself, would like to know, was the place, whether the theater or the innovative center, fitness center, was it for sale and you guys just basically found it on the market and purchased that, or did you actually pursue the owners of these two properties and ask them or try to buy them out of the owners outright?
When the school, when the theater came up for sale, we had been actually told about this theater years ago, and we kind of said no. We were looking at other sites. Eventually, we did come back to it. It was obviously a theater that was closed. It's a theater where the building was not in very good shape. Parking lot is not in good shape. Actually, with the renovations right now, every single unit that's on the roof is going to have to be replaced because they're all old. We're thinking of replacing the roof at the same time. Innovative, unfortunately, is also in not great shape. Same thing. End of life HVAC units, parking lot that has not been maintained, interior items that have not been maintained. Most of the fire doors and others, both the framing and the doors are rusted. So, this is for us. We find properties. We made a commitment that we want to come into Franklin because of a lot of our families actually live in Franklin. It's a nice community. It's a family community. We feel that these are kind of distressed properties, and we're willing, and we made a commitment to come in. We are going to absolutely make these buildings and the area surrounding it look nice. We also purchased the property along Loomis Road that will remain for commercial development. We are absolutely certain that what we're building there will be a magnet for more homeowners, more businesses, people coming, being employed, all kinds of businesses. So we feel that, and we have a track record of that at our other locations, whether in Milwaukee or in Brookfield, of actually really contributing to the overall development of the areas that we move into.
So what would be like the long-term plan for the innovative? Is it like, going to be restored as a fitness center, or that's going to be somewhat incorporated with the school?
Our plans currently, and see a lot of stuff on social media about what we're planning on doing, which is interesting. But right now, it's going to be an annex to the high school. We're in the process right now of doing lots of repairs and improvements on the, inside. But it will largely be for the school and, the school families and so forth. We don't know what we're going to do in the long term. This is the first time, obviously, we get into or purchase a fitness center. We felt it was the right decision, given that it was in the same parking lot, the fact that it was for sale because it wasn't doing, very well. And it would save us on construction costs for some of the things that we would want to add to the high school. And so that's the primary purpose of it for the time being.
There is like a concern, a few of the constituents concerned about the loss of tax dollars because this is going to be probably nonprofit and so on. Is there like a solid commitment on the side of the organization that commercial development will take place along Loomis Road? I noticed you have substantial amount of frontage with the parcels that you guys purchased or the organization purchased. Is there be a solid commitment that there'll be a commercial development on Loomis Road to offset any, lost revenue out of the, the school and the innovative being taken out of the tax base?
Look, I want to first emphasize, again, we're a religious facility, just like every other religious group that's in Franklin. We are going to have the same exempt status as anyone else. We would have that same right, whether we have commercial development or not. So I just want to make that very clear. We're the first Islamic facility in Franklin. And again, we're proud of our presence in Franklin, and I think the community is going to see what we're able to do and how we're able to contribute. That said, clearly our organization knows that we look for income-generating properties to sustain the organization so we don't always depend on donations. And absolutely, the reason that we purchased the land along Loomis, it was actually owned by a bank at the time that we purchased it, except for the land that's now south. It has a frontage area that can also be commercially developed, or at least a portion of it. We have to look at the wetland delineation and so forth. But there's no question that we will maintain that for commercial development. But I can also absolutely guarantee you that we will have many people from the community and outside the community, people who know that our community are going to come in and purchase and be involved and get involved in different, programs and businesses. And I believe that there's going to be, over the next, 10 years or so, there's going to be tremendous development. And if I'm alive, I'll come back and I'll tell you guys I told you so.
Thank you. I yield.
Commissioner Leon.
Thank you, Mayor. To ask a few more questions about the proposed commercial developments along Loomis. Probably premature because you're just looking at it now, but kind of a two-part question again. What types of commercial developments, businesses are you looking at? And would they primarily be designed to serve the school and the other things on property, or would they be designed to draw in? And the reason I ask that is I'm generally familiar with the other commercial properties nearby, and also its relative distance from homeowners, from the highway, the types of things that bring in people to commercial establishments. So that's why I'm getting at. What are you looking to put in, and will it be largely designed to serve the school itself and those coming to the school for activities?
You're saying the land on Loomis?
Yeah, the land between, I think it's 102nd and Loomis.
Yeah, no, I actually, I mean, any good business person, and this may be that we would lease it out, but I mean, any good business person will tell you if they're going to open up a restaurant or a business, you can't just try to cater to one community, especially a small community. You want to cater to the community at large, and you want to serve the community at large, and that's the intention of those properties when they're constructed.
And perhaps I can give an example. In Greendale, Martin Luther has that property that I believe the school owns. I could be wrong about that. But the businesses in there serve the entire community. There's places to get drinks, there's places for cell phones, I think there's a bank in there, right? So clearly designed to draw in, but it's also a very different location, right? It's on South 76th Street compared to here off of West Loomis.
Yeah, I mean, we have, for example, one of our commercial properties, one portion of it holds a school, other has pharmacy offices, they're corporate offices, about 20,000 square feet are rented. There's a commercial pharmacy, 4,500 square feet. There's a medical clinic that serves all the community, everyone, doesn't matter their background.
About Hyatt and
MCHC. Hyatt is a pharmacy.
Yeah.
MCHC serves anyone who is either uninsured, underinsured, or so forth. We also have a privately owned daycare in that building as well. And so, these are basically, I mean, we will look for tenants that will provide a good income generation, for our community.
And draw in others outside of just the...
Absolutely. And, if you look at our community, what's around on our South Side facility, for example, most of the properties there, many of the businesses, groceries, restaurants, coffee shops, are owned by members of our community, and it serves everyone. Like I said, you don't build a business to cater to a small segment of the community. You build a business that will attract everyone, because that's what's going to make the business successful.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just since we kind of veered off,
Sure.
why not continue to veer off? So let's say you've got, like example, the Indian Community School, okay, on St. Martin's Road. And you look at, let's say somebody wishes to attend this high school. And I understand there's a fee. It's a private high school. Private schools, you pay a fee for private schools. So, like, what are you looking at as far as it's a high school? What's your numbers? What are you looking at? Hey, we got a high school. We're going to have X amount of students is our goal.
We expect probably to begin with somewhere maybe around 400 students. And I think that over time that'll go up a little bit. But again, the issue of the number of people who's coming to the school, it is a school that is coming from the city of Milwaukee. It is a choice school, so many of the students who attend our, choice students. We will probably have some busing that would come from the south side of Milwaukee to transport some of the students, to the high school. And so that'll anyways cut down on traffic as well, although it's going to be much less traffic than a healthcare facility or a health fitness facility and a theater. But, one thing I do want to say, that school is obviously open to anyone who wants to enroll.
That was my next point. That was
Yeah,
my next point.
and in terms of even our teachers, people think, oh, I don't know what they think when they think that this is a Muslim school. But we teach reading, writing, and arithmetic along with, the Islamic faith and the Arabic language. And there's other languages that have been taught, including French as well. About half of our teachers are not from the Muslim community. They've been with us, many of them, for 10, 20 years, including whether it's our athletic directors or other teachers, social studies teachers, other things. So, they like being involved in a school where the students are there to learn. It's safe. We don't have, we have not had any significant, safety issue or discipline-related issues. If kids are chewing gum in class or whatever, that might be a big thing. But we've never, thank God, knock on wood, we've never had any kind of major incident or problem.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Fuchs? Or regular?
Motions.
Please. How many are there?
Major Plan Development District. A motion to recommend approval of an ordinance to amend Section 15.30434 of the Unified Development Ordinance, Plan Development District Number 29, to modify district boundaries and rezone property located at 10525 West Loomis Road to Plan Development Legacy Number 29 and Floodplain Overlay District, and to amend allows uses within the district.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, we got a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hecht,
Aye.
Commissioner Shago,
Aye.
Commissioner Haley,
Aye.
Alderman Salus,
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann,
Aye.
Commissioner Leon.
Aye.
6 ayes on those, motion carries. Second motion.
Certified survey map. A motion to recommend approval of a one-lot certified survey map to combine properties located at 10525 West Loomis Road and 8910 South 102nd Street.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, roll call, please.
Oh, further discussion, Alderman Salus.
Just a concern, I seen there is a condition about the easement. I'm just like suggesting maybe the easement, the conservation easement related to the, environmental issues. I suggest that should be deferred when they submit a site plan, just in case there is any minor interference with any of the environmental measures, rather than doing it now and you have an easement, then you have to go amend the easement, because they don't have a site plan, and right now they're not doing anything that touch anything outside the boundaries of the existing facility, which is the cinema type of a thing.
Mr. Fuchs, can you comment on that?
Sure. Yeah, it does become, it's a good point as far as, there could be a need in the future, depending on the development of the site, the conservation need to be amended. It is part of the ordinance as far as the requirement of the certified survey map to do the natural resource protection plan and the conservation easement. So that is in the UDO to do that. I'm not aware of an exception to that ordinance. So the process in the end is where you would do the event, you do the easement, have it on the CSM, but there is a process then to amend it in the future.
So that could not be deferred at all at this point.
Unless regular
No.
city attorney
they-
would have other thoughts on it.
No, they will need to do the easement at this time, but That could be amended if the council approve it down the road.
Okay.
Can I just ask?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Would that amendment, because again, we will be submitting probably a new site plan with these additions. And I had spoken to Sigma actually about that, Terry with Sigma. And he seemed to think that there shouldn't be any problem, but we wouldn't have to go through a whole public hearing again just for the conservation easement, is that correct?
For the conservation easement, no, but if you request what we call the natural resource special exception, yes, the public hearing will be required.
Like if the easement boundaries to be altered a little bit, do they have to go through?
They will need to submit an application with the planning department and it will go to the common council, but it doesn't require a public hearing, it's a business item.
Okay.
Okay, I believe we had a first and a second, correct?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Leon,
Aye.
Alderman Eichmann,
Aye.
Alderman Salus,
Aye.
Commissioner Haley,
Aye.
Commissioner Shago,
Aye.
Commissioner Hecht.
Aye.
6 ayes on those, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fuchs, you're staying tight there? Well, we normally don't, but you can ask the gentleman here.
Outside.
Okay, so we can continue to move on. All right, Mr. Fuchs, you're still here?
In the hallway.
I'm here.
So number 3, Club Car Wash rezoning, request to rezone property located at 2821 West College Avenue, tax key number 714-9973-001 from B-G, General Business District number B-MU, South 27th Street, Mixed Use District for a proposed car wash development. Good evening, sir.
Evening.
Could you just state your name and business address for the record?
Michael Leidig with Robert E. Lee and Associates. We're at 1250 Centennial Center Boulevard, Hobart, Wisconsin, 54155.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome. Mr. Fuchs, you've got the floor.
So items 3 and 4 are related. I did separate out the rezoning item as it only pertains to the 2821 College Avenue property, which is the furthest west property of this development. The applicant is requesting to rezone that piece of land to BMU, South 27th Street Mixed Use District, from BG General District. That zoning district is consistent with the other properties involved in this development.
Okay. Anything more before we go into, want to read it?
A notice of public hearing, City of Franklin Plan Commission, Thursday, July 9th, 2026 at 6 p.m. The Common Council Chambers of the Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132. The applicant is Justin Barnes, Club Car Wash, property located at 2821 West College Avenue. An ordinance to amend the Unified Development Ordinance zoning map to rezone a parcel of land located at 2821 West College Avenue from BG General Business District to BMU South 27th Street Mixed Use District.
Okay, it's 8:26 p.m. We'll now open a public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on item C as in Charles, number 3, and C3 only, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. See nobody, close it. Again, at 8:26 p.m. Open up to questions right now from the commissioners. Questions, comments? Motion, please.
Rezoning. A motion to recommend approval of an ordinance to rezone property located at 2821 West College Avenue from BG General Business District to BMU South 27th Street Mixed Use District for a proposed car wash development.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? As that motion carries, there's only one motion on this one?
There's more.
For 3, so now moving on to item 4, they'll be related to the same development.
So we're moving, so C3 only had one motion, correct?
Correct.
All right, C4, you want to read the whole thing and then? You know.
I can read it.
All right, go ahead.
So this is,
They said it looks so tired, I don't think so.
Club car wash conditional use, public hearing and certified survey map. These are application related to an approximately 4,358 square foot car wash development upon properties located at 6311 South 27th Street, 2723 West College Avenue, 2729 West College Avenue, 2807 West College Avenue, and 2821 West College Avenue.
For the record, 8:28 Speck stepped out, Commissioner Speck stepped out at 8:28 PM. Continue.
So the car wash facility is allowed as a conditional
Back at
use
8:28 PM.
in the BMU district. There are the typical conditional use standards as well as use-specific standards for a car wash. The applicant has provided statements to those, which are in the staff report for Plan Commission review. The CSM is combining the 5 properties that you can see on the screen here to create a single parcel for this development. See, the conditional use, staff is recommending approval of the certified survey map, but we're recommending that the conditional use be tabled. The applicant is in the process of completing a sound study, but that is not done yet, to my understanding. So we'd like to have that for review prior to any action on the conditional use to make sure that there aren't any adverse impacts as far as noise to the adjacent properties.
Great.
But otherwise, we're not objecting to the certified survey map and the combining the parcels.
Okay.
And the notice of public hearing, City of Franklin Plan Commission, Thursday, July 9th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Located at the Common Council Chambers of the Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132. Applicant Justin Barnes, Club Car Wash. For property located at 6311 South 27th Street, 2723 West College Avenue, 2729 West College Avenue, 2807 West College Avenue, and 2821 West College Avenue. For a conditional use permit request to allow a car wash in the BMU South 27th Street Mixed Use District. A car wash requires a conditional use permit in the BMU District per table 15-3-04, parent C of the Unified Development Ordinance.
Okay, it is 8:30 PM. Anybody wishing to speak on item C4, come to the podium. Seeing nobody, close it at 8:30 PM. Open up now to members of the commission that have questions, comments. Alderwoman Eichman.
I was just gonna say, when this comes to council, it might be nice to have these pictures that we could put up on a screen so that the general public understands the condition of this area. Because, be these,
Address it to Mr. Fuchs, address the gentleman right there.
these, correct? Yeah, it might be nice to have it in a short, very short, because Mary likes short presentations. Because I know a lot of the feedback from residents is gonna be another car wash. We have so many car washes in Franklin.
We have the cleanest cars in Milwaukee County.
Yes, nobody has an excuse not to have a clean car in the city of
I don't need an
Franklin.
excuse, I just don't wash my vehicle.
Don't even like
So, but when somebody sees the condition of this area, I think they're gonna appreciate that somebody wants to purchase this land
Absolutely.
and develop it. Most people that, my district is 2, which is this general area here. I don't travel, I travel all over southeastern Wisconsin for my full-time career, but I don't travel to this area of Franklin very often. So I just don't think the general population is aware of this condition. So I think it would be a great selling point to have this on a slide for the council meeting to show people like, hey, we're taking how it looks now, like this, and making it into something better. It's just a suggestion that I have.
Great one.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? Sure, go ahead.
Just not to belabor any point or anything, obviously, we're still going through the sound study. We're committed to meeting the village's noise ordinance, or the city's noise ordinance. One thing just to help us, if there's anything from your perspective, looking at the site plan, if there's any concerns, anything you have, any questions that I can, obviously, I'll be back here, next month with the sound study, but if you have any specific questions, I can try to address those now or come with answers later just to make it a smooth process.
Alderman Salus.
Just my concern with car washes in general, sometimes, where the vacuums placed, it has that, constant noise, it's just like, I don't know what the sound study going to achieve. It's not a loud noise, it's low intensity, but it's just like constant. Is there any, I don't know, where is your vacuums going to be placed in the design?
Yeah. So if you see on the east side of the site, on the eastern parking row, there's kind of by the green space, there's a little drop down of concrete pavement that goes there. So some of the car washes have like a vacuum turbine per vacuum stall. We do it with one vacuum turbine for the entire row. So it sort of concentrates that noise there, and then we can effectively screen that versus if you have it dispersed all around, it's more difficult to screen. So they'll include like a black, sort of like a gloss finished aluminum around it, additionally around the trees. That sort of helps knock down a lot of that noise. And the vacuums are off during business hours, so it's not like anybody's vacuuming out their car outside of business hours or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Haley.
You asked comments.
Please.
And it was great of staff to pick up on this, but the last car wash that we saw, public showed up, residents were greatly concerned about the noise and where it was coming from when doors open. So we had to send them back to do that. So when you come back, be prepared that there may be people that want to know hours of operation. Those are the sort of things that they're going to want to be.
Just for clarification on my end, the public hearing was tonight for it. Do we have another public hearing at the following plan commission? So this was the public hearing.
Never mind.
Obviously, if anybody
But
had concerns.
that's what your sound study wants to adjust.
Certainly.
Address.
And we want to show that we're going to meet the ordinance, so.
Awesome, thank you.
So just to confirm, the motion is to table until the applicant submits a sound study?
Correct, for the conditional use.
I would make that motion.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? As that motion carries.
Mayor, motion to recess for 5 minutes before we get to citizen comment.
There is
I
one.
know there's
sorry,
one more
okay.
motion.
Apologies.
Certified survey map. A motion to recommend approval of a one-lot certified survey map to combine properties located at 6311 South 27th Street, 2723 West College Avenue, 2729 West College Avenue, 2807 West College Avenue, and 2821 West College Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? As that motion carries. All right, it is 8:36, 8:40. We're going to go off the record 8:36. Please let us know. Come back at 8:41. 8:41, we'll be returning to open session 8:41.
CSM will now go to council in.
Correct.
That's right.
Let's go. Don't need any advice on relaxing. It's
You gotta get
8:41. Thank you, though, Patrick.
Are we back to regular business now?
We're back. It's 8:41 PM. We are back on the record. We are moving it forward with item D as in David, citizen comment period, only on E as in Edward number 1. Any citizen wishing to speak on this, you've got 3 minutes. State your name, address. See nobody. Close citizen comment period. E1, Pos General, Mr. Fuchs, you're taking this?
Yes.
All right, I'll read the item E, Edward 1, Pos General Certified Survey Map, request for approval of a 4-lot certified survey map related to Pos General mixed-use development located at approximately 7154 South 76th Street, tax key numbers 756-9993-012, 756-9993-016, and 756-9993-021. Mr. Fuchs, you have the floor.
So Poth's General has a minor amendment submitted to staff for some site plan changes. Essentially, they're looking to maintain another portion similar where they're maintaining the Harry's Hardware portion of the existing mall. Now they're looking to also maintain the Dollar Tree portion, which resulted in some changes to the parking and drives in the larger building, Building A. So with those site changes, the certified survey map that was recently approved has modifications to it. So this is the revised or updated CSM. So very similar to the previous approval, just slight changes to the lot configuration to accommodate those site plan changes that are under review by staff currently. So staff is recommending approval.
Questions, Mr. Leon?
Just a comment. Alderman Eichman returned at 8:43.
Thank you for your help. Anything else?
You're welcome.
Mr. Salus?
Just like, so I understand it correctly, so now the Dollar Tree is going to remain in its place?
Correct.
And then that should trigger a new site plan to be, because, you know, everything we received in the past, assuming that the Dollar Tree is gone. And now, you know, how is the site going to be, you know, managed?
Correct. They were determined based on the criteria of the UDO that outlines PDD amendments, whether they're major or minor, as well as site plans. They have specific requirements to determine whether it's major or minor. These site changes fell into the minor category for both. So those applications are submitted, currently under review, but by staff, based on that.
My concern when there is like, you know, the approved plans showing apartment buildings being built in there, and now you retaining this Dollar Tree. I believe, I don't know, I cannot fully understand why this could be a minor.
Because the ordinance is specific on, and it lists what is a major. So like a change of uses, a change of boundaries, and increasing density. And this change will not trigger that major amendment because it doesn't qualify in the changes that are listed in the ordinance as major amendments.
Okay, all right, okay, thanks.
Other questions, comments, anything from fellow commissioners up here? Okay, seeing that, is there a motion, sir?
Certified survey map. A motion to recommend approval of a 4-lot certified survey map related to the Puff General Mixed-Use Development located at approximately 7154 South 76th Street.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
First and a second by Commissioner Speck. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries at 8:45 PM. 8:45 PM. Let us know regular when we are off.